Hey guys, welcome back. So today I get to try the final product of the Great Fermentations Brain Eater kit. This kit is based on the Three Floyds Brewing Zombie Dust, which I've been told was very popular and still is. It was one of the first all Citra beers available in the Midwest. And I mean, I've never had it, so I don't really know how it's gonna compare, but this is supposed to be close to a clone. So if you can't get your hands on Zombie Dust, maybe pick up this kit. I'm really sad that I actually didn't get my hands on some Zombie Dust when I was in Chicago. I should have asked Great Fermentations to let me know more about this beer, I think, before I went to Chicago, unfortunately, so I would know to look out for it. I'm really excited to try this. I'm gonna can it today. It's really young. I only kegged it last weekend, so it's been in a keg and carbonating for about 7 days. It's pretty hazy still. I think it'll clear out a bit. I'm canning it today because I'm going to Washington next week. My neighbors up north actually lived in Indiana, so I'm wondering if that's why my buddy Cindy's favorite hop is Citra, because she probably got her hands on some of this a long time ago. So let's get into it and try it. So the Carapils definitely gave it a beautiful lasting head. It's like, this head looks like it'll stay on until I'm done with this beer, honestly. It's really white, verging on cream, I would say. The beer itself, though hazy, is, it's not like a straw color. It's definitely got some orangey notes, thanks to the melloidin malt. Still haven't figured out how to say that one, so bear with me. I did discover it is a dark malt, though, because I Googled it. It seems like it's pretty thick for like a 6.5% beer. The IBU is above 60. This is the highest IBU beer I've made probably in at least a year. I've been straying away from IPAs and like heavy hopped pale ales. This pale ale verges on an IPA. It's dry hopped. Why it's called a pale ale, you gotta ask Great Fermentations about that. I assume it's because Zombie Dust is actually a pale ale, so they're sticking to the original naming convention. But I think our idea of what a pale ale is now is a little different from back when Zombie Dust was in its heyday in like 2013 or so. If you like take Sierra Nevada's pale ale, I always think of that as like an IPA level of bitterness. So, I mean, 10 years ago, beer was way different than it is now. I mean, wow, I was barely old enough to drink. Time flies. All right, so now that I'm done with my whole spiel, we should actually like talk about this beer. Oh my God, it smells like I just opened a bag of Citra hops. Like, it carries through so nicely. Whatever these guys are doing, I haven't been able to dry hop a beer and have it smell and like not turn out funky. So I guess that is a testament to like brewing a beer that's been tried and tested and everyone knows that the recipe is good. Because, I'm flying by the seat of my pants usually, just throwing things together, hoping they work out. And that's why I stopped dry hopping, because I was like, I can't ever get these to work out. But yeah, it's a lovely aroma. It smells like lemongrass and fresh cut lawn. Just basically like summer. Actually, the Citra IPA that I made in Washington, it kind of smelled like this. So I think maybe the key to dry hopping is just use Citra. So that's where I'm at this point. All right. That's a good beer. My husband's been drinking this all day. This is my first real sip of it. I did get to smell it, and I was like, oh, I think it's gonna be good. It is bitter. I'll say that up front. It is definitely, it almost tastes like a West Coast style IPA level of bitterness. It's not that it's not punching you in the face like, say, a stone. And honestly, I don't think it's as bitter as like Sierra Nevada, but maybe like a Racer 5 level of bitterness, which that's one of my favorites. It has enough sweetness in it to level out some of the bitterness, and the body, I think, really distributes the bitterness well. And on your second taste, you start tasting the Citra. It's got like a navel orange rind vibe. I'm from Florida, so I know the difference of oranges, I guess. I don't know. But navel oranges are the ones that you typically juice. They're very sweet. They have a lot of juice, and they don't have tartness, which is kind of different from, say, like the oranges that grow out here. I don't know if the navel oranges grow out here. I don't know. But all the oranges that grow out here seem to have a lot of acidity to them, versus a navel orange is more rounded in the tartness. You know, it's like, I don't want to say it's like store-bought versus fresh squeezed orange juice, because we know that those have zero comparison in real life, but it's kind of like that. So I don't know, I guess it's like a pasteurized orange bitterness. I'm just making stuff up at this point. But yeah, it definitely has some citrus qualities. I'm getting bitterness on the back of my mouth now. It's really nice on the back of my tongue, but on the side backs. And I taste the citrus like in the middle of my tongue. This is one of those beers that it's complex enough that you want to keep coming back to taste it and taste it again and taste it again. But it's not so bitter that it's like, oh, I need a glass of water in between, you know? I can see why this was a popular beer, and still is. I mean, for something that's so simple, like the most complicated part of this was the first wording, I still can't do it. First wort hopping, and the dry hop. And then the grain bill was, it's definitely more complex than my typical grain bills. And I think that adds to the body and how nice and like rounding it is, instead of, you know, just being like a flat 2-row kind of thing. It's like 2-row, and Pilsner typically they'll give you a less full body than this is. And I think the Carapils probably has something to do with that as well. You can see the head is still around. Like, my beers don't do this ever. So I think something that I'm going to take away from this is to actually start using Carapils. I've had a bag of it sitting around for a long time, and I'm just like, I don't see the point, but now I'm seeing the point. Yeah, it's just like real great. This is my one day off this week, so I'm like super excited to be able to drink a delicious beer, and I'm happy it turned out. And I fermented it under pressure, but it was still getting pretty warm in here. This garage gets up to 100 degrees easily, even in the spring, and in the summer it's gonna be 120. I have a beer going right now that the chiller is fighting to keep under 80 degrees. It's chugging along constantly. But this, I'm actually kind of impressed, because I set up my glycol system and I used a glycol wrap kind of thing. It's a chiller, it's a Cool Jacket, I believe, is the brand. I'll link to it below, because it's really neat, and you can actually use it with water as well, or if you have a glycol chiller, it just kind of chills the outside, and so you don't have to have any equipment inside your fermenter, so you can even use it with a bucket. And it, you know, it must have kept it pretty good, because this has absolutely no off flavors, nothing. Tooting my own horn here, I actually fermented a beer well. Anyway, I think this is a fantastic beer. If you get the kit, please do me a favor and monitor your temperature during fermentation, because I can see this beer going really bad if it's fermented at 80 degrees, especially with the Safale 04, which is what I use, the English ale yeast. That stuff doesn't like being hot. So you want to keep that around 68 degrees if you can. Put it in your basement, put it in like right under a AC vent, whatever you got to do to try to keep it a steady temperature and a cool temperature. And I think you'll get a great beer. I'm so happy Great Fermentations spent the time to develop this clone, because like making a clone is not a one and done kind of thing. It takes testing and time, and they even made a graphic for it. Anyway, I'm so happy to have this beer on tap now, and I'm happy to can it and be able to go share it with some friends. So I hope you like this. If you want to try making it on your own, I have the link to the beer kit below, and I will see you guys next time.